Hello there and welcome back to a Halloween gluten-free, lactose-free and yeast-free baking video. How are we doing today? Today I'm going to be showing you my recipe for vampire sugar cookies, but of course they're going to be gluten-free, lactose-free and yeast-free. You will be needing the following equipment: some scales, some measuring spoons, 2 cookie sheets or baking trays, some baking paper, some spray oil, 1 large mixing bowl, a wooden spoon or electric hand whisk, a spatula, a rolling pin, 2 cookie cutters, although you want one that is bigger than the other one, a palette knife, a piping bag, a tall glass, an elastic band and some scissors, a toothpick, a cooling rack, and that's all of your equipment. So you will also be needing the following ingredients: 113 grams of butter softened, I like to use lacto-free butter, 113 grams of caster sugar, half a medium-sized egg beaten. There will be a link in the description to show you how to do this. 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 265 grams of gluten-free self-raising flour plus extra for rolling, and some strawberry jam. First things first, measure out and prepare all of your ingredients so that they're completely ready for you to use, and then preheat your oven to 180 degrees C on a conventional oven, 160 degrees C on a fan oven or gas mark 4. So now that we have preheated our oven, it is now time to prepare our cookie sheets or baking trays. So for this we will be needing our cookie sheets or baking trays, our baking paper and our spray oil. So first thing I'm going to do is grab my baking paper and measure it to the size of my cookie sheet or baking tray. You can use scissors if you want to, but personally I'm just going to tear this off. Grab my spray oil. Oh, sorry, Mr. Rat. Do you like my little addition? So now that you've got your spray oil, we're just going to give our cookie sheet or baking tray just a tiny spritz. Place our baking paper on top, because I find that this really helps to keep the baking paper down while I finish making my mixture. Get out of there, you little tart. There we are. Okay, so now that this is done, repeat this with your other cookie sheet or baking tray and then place these off to the side until we're ready to bake. So now that we've done all that nasty prep work, it is now time to begin actually making our cookies. So for this we will be needing our wooden spoon or electric hand whisk, our large mixing bowl, our spatula, and all of our ingredients except for our jam. So the first thing I'm going to do is place all of my butter into my mixing bowl, followed by our caster sugar. And now we are going to mix this lot together until they are light and fluffy. So now that that is all done, I'm going to add all of my egg, followed by our vanilla extract. And now we're going to mix this lot together until we have a nice smooth batter. And now that that is completely finished, we are now going to add all of our flour. Careful. And now we're going to mix this lot together until it is fully combined and forms little nuggets of cookie dough. So now that we've completely finished making our cookie dough, we will now be needing our rolling pin, our extra flour for rolling, our 2 cookie cutters, both of different sizes, and our cookie sheet. So the first thing I'm going to do is flour my work surface. Probably wrong jumper to wear for this, but it's the only Halloween jumper I've got. There we go. And now I'm going to bring my dough together with my spatula. Half it and place half onto my rolling surface. This is mainly because if I do this, it doesn't completely dry out all of the dough. It only focuses on half of the dough, so you're less likely of drying it out. Probably said that too many times, but you're getting the gist now. And the other thing with this particular recipe is that it's going to have 2 halves to it. It's going to have a bottom and a top. So this will be the bottom and that half will be the top of the cookies. So the first thing we've got to do is roll this dough out until it equals 1/4 inch thick. So I'm going to roll my sleeves up. Going to flour my rolling pin. Screw that in a bit better. There we go. And roll this out. So now that that is all lovely and rolled out, I am just going to cut out my cookies, well, the bases of my cookies. As I say, because this is a bigger one, they may look bigger than you want them to, but there is a method to this and I will explain that in a second for you. Okay, so now that that is done, I'm also going to be needing my palette knife. So now that I've got my palette knife, I'm just going to scrape that lot away. Grab my cookie from underneath. You may just want to do this with your hands, but I personally find it better with a cooking palette knife. Place that cookie onto there. There we go. And you're going to want to place these about 1 inch apart because they do spread a little bit when they bake. So the next thing I'm going to do now that these bad boys are up here, I'm now going to grab my second lot of dough and roll this out to the same thickness. So here we go with the next lot. So now that this lot is done, I'm just going to place this off to the side for a second and grab my jam, my tool glass, my piping bag, my elastic band, my scissors and my toothpick. So now that I've got everything, I'm going to open up my piping bag, place it into my tool glass, wrapping the edges of the piping bag around the edges of the tool glass, and place my elastic band around the edges because that will just keep it in place as you add things in. It won't just collapse in on itself. Now I'm going to add my jam. Honestly, you can add as little or as much as you want because once you finish you can pipe what's in the piping bag straight back into your jam jar. So I'm just going to put an amount in it. So now that that's done, I'm just going to unravel the elastic band, unravel my piping bag, press all of the jam down to the bottom or as far down as it will go. Then using my elastic band, I am going to wrap that around the edges because again, this will, there we go, stop the jam going all over your hands while you are piping because that is just blimming annoying. Turn through. There we go. And that's probably enough. And now the next thing I'm going to do is cut the tiniest hole known to mankind, purely because after you finish baking these, we're going to pipe little blood dripping marks coming from, we need to remember to breathe our toothpick holes. So I'm going to make this super tiny. There we are. So now that that's done, that lot is done, I'm just going to place this lot off to the side. There you go. And now I'm going to pipe about a teaspoon amount of jam onto each of our cookies, keeping them relatively centre. Don't spread them out too much because we are going to be using our other cookie cutter to cut around it to seal everything. So just basically keep it in the centre. So now we're going to place these on top of our other cookie halves. So now that that is all done and looking brilliant, the next thing we're going to do is use our small cookie cutter. And the reason we're going to use this now is because if we didn't do what I'm about to do, which is press down in between each one, actually I should probably just do this for you. That now has created the seal to stop the jam going everywhere while it's baking and seeping out of each cookie. So now I'm just going to get rid of these. There we go. And I'm going to repeat that with the rest of my cookies. And then the last thing I'm going to do before putting these into the oven is poke 2 holes into each of them to represent a vampire bite. So 1 and 2. Also, when you're doing this, just remember to not go through to the second cookie because that would not be helpful at all when it bakes. And there we have it. So now I'm going to place these brilliant cookies into our preheated oven for 14 minutes. After those 14 minutes are up, I'm then going to grab my cooling rack, take my cookies out of the oven, placing them onto the cooling rack, still on their cookie sheet or baking tray to cool for 10 minutes. And then after those 10 minutes are up, I'm going to take my cookies off of their cookie sheet or baking tray, placing them onto the cooling rack to cool completely. So now that our cookies are out of the oven and have completely finished cooling, we're going to use the remainder of our jam, when I do it, to pipe little lines coming from the holes that we've made to make it look like teeth are dripping or blood is dripping from the holes. It's quite a disgusting thing, but I think it really adds to the Halloweeny effect of it. Get off. There we are. You can either pipe them going into the holes or just out from underneath them. It's completely up to you. I'm doing a mixture of both. And there we have it. I absolutely love these. They look great. And they're completely finished now. Have a look. They look great. I absolutely love this, and I love this recipe because it is so simple and easy to do, and the end result looks amazing. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description, as I love them all and wouldn't put them there if I didn't, including the recipe for these lovely cookies and all the links to all of the flour and equipment you will need for this recipe. If you do make these at home, don't forget to tag me on Instagram and use the hashtag bakingwithvickiie so that I can see all of your lovely creations. Let me know in the comments below of anything else you'd like to see me make, gluten, lactose or yeast free, as I do them all. And finally, don't forget to like, leave a nice comment and subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time. Bye!